My reaction to RWBY World of Remnant episode 14. I finished chapter 4 of volume 4 and we already have another World of Remnant episode. So here I am checking it out. In the previous World of Remnant episode, Flo talked about Between Kingdoms, how people who don't want to deal with the big cities or don't like stuff that's going on there go out and find smaller towns and villages in between the kingdoms. But because these villages don't have natural barriers or strong defenses, they normally don't last for more than a year because they're constantly being attacked by the creatures of Grimm. Of course, there can be places where people are happy all the time, but then there are also some bandits who make come and raid places all the time, and that can lead to some negative emotions being created that can draw in the Grim. And so, because of that, bandits don't stay for too long because they're then chased by the Grim. So they have to flee soon, and then the Grim can come in and take care of the rest. So that's about all I talked about last time. I didn't exactly get how he ended it though. Oh well. Time to check on what's on the next World of Remnant episode. This is RWBY World of Remnant episode 14, Faunus. The episode is starting right now. RWBY World of Remnant. Faunus.
You know, most of us spend a lot of time talking about mankind versus Grimm, but technically there is a third party in the mix.
Faunus.
The Faunus. In case you're not in the know, the Faunus are a species on Remnant that appear to be human in just about every way.
Yeah.
Every way but one.
Animal features.
Each Faunus has a single animalistic trait, some more apparent than others.
Yeah.
Ram horns, tiger claws, cat ears.
Blake.
I swear, on my
Is that
husband's
Sam?
license, I once saw a guy regrow his severed lizard tail.
Oh,
I swear, no amount of drinking can make you forget that pretty picture.
cool. And they even.
As far as everyone's aware, Faunus have been around as long as mankind, if not a little longer.
Mankind.
History gets a little fuzzy.
Faunus.
Point. But we do know that their kind and ours are completely compatible from a biological standpoint.
Okay. Genes.
Two wolf faunus, you get a little wolf cub kiddo.
Ah.
A wolf faunus and a human also typically means your little bundle of joy's teething phase could get a little dicey.
What?
But if you take a wolf faunus and a bull faunus, for example,
Oh.
it's a complete roll of the dice.
Okay.
For all you know, you could be cleaning up your son's shedded snake skin.
What? Oh, cool.
Scientists are still scratching their heads when it comes to, well, a lot about the faunus. But science isn't the real problem. It's how we all get along.
Ah.
Or in this case, how we don't.
Yeah.
Early man was scared to death of the faunus. And honestly, it's not too hard to sympathize with that. Seeing something that looks like you and acts like you walk out of the forest and reveal a pair of fangs can be a little upsetting.
I guess it can be a bit scary at first.
Like most things man doesn't understand, all sorts of rumors and stories surround the faunus.
Yeah.
People avoid them like the plague,
I
pushing
assume
them out of settlements and sometimes even hunting them down.
so. Yeah, I imagine so.
Man began to outnumber the faunus, and the faunus began to consider man nothing more than a hostile species.
Blake, maybe?
Can't really blame them. These clashes between species were unavoidable, as land that was safe from the Grimm was in constant short supply. It was the Grimm that finally brought humans and faunas together for the first time.
Okay.
A village in Sanus fell under attack. The only reason anyone survived was because the humans and faunas united against their common enemy.
Ah.
It was a step in the right direction,
But
but it didn't fix everything.
okay.
Once humanity learned they weren't so different from the faunas, they still used those differences as an excuse to exploit and alienate them.
Ah.
The treatment of the faunas differed around the world, and things wouldn't improve much for them until the Great War.
Okay.
Vale and Vacuolo against Mantle and Mistral, a A war unlike anyone had ever seen.
Okay.
When it was over, the world was desperate to find compromises that would ensure they'd never see the likes of it again.
Is that the Great War?
Faunus were awarded equal rights as citizens of Remnant, and as an apology, they were given an entire continent of their own to do with as they pleased. There were some that saw this as fair and just, but many saw it for what it really was, a slap in the face from a nation of sore losers.
What?
So Menagerie was born.
Menagerie.
There's still Faunus all over the world, though the fair treatment they were promised varies in quality from place to place. But Menagerie will always be their safe haven.
Okay.
Here's the thing, though. You can only push and prod people so much before they reach a tipping point. And when you pack those people together, it just makes it all the easier for them to get organized.
Oh.
And get even.
The White Fang. That's it? Ah. Is that how the White Fang came to be? Well, before it been bad. Bad. Okay. So I guess if you find someone who looks and acts like you and has scary fangs, I guess that can be a bit scary at first. So as much as I don't like to admit it, I guess I can understand why people may have been scared of them at first because they look different and they're not used to it and it's an immediate reaction and then of course some false rumors started to eventually spread and they began to drive Faunus out of homes. They were too freaked out that they didn't even try to understand the Faunus and that's how it ended up the way it was. But the first time they got together was when they all joined together to fight against a common enemy, creatures of Grimm that were attacking a small town. So they were attacking a small town and the humans and the Faunuses got together to stop the threat. And that's when they first began to work together. Of course it wasn't a fix, but it was a start. And then sometime afterwards, two different kingdoms banded together, people that supported Faunuses and people that didn't. Vacchio and Vale versus Mantle and Mistral. Sun is from Vacchio and Horus is from Mantle has now become Atlas. So I guess that explains why she was so untrusting of the Faunus in Volume 1. And now that she's seen the other side, she's more open to them. And Vacchio and Vale and Osborne was actually willing to lend a hand to the Faunus. So Vacchio and Vale fought against Mantle and Mistral for a Faunus war or something. So I think that may have been what the Great War was about. We keep talking about the Great War, but we still don't know too much about it. So I think that may have been what the Great War was about. Vacchio and Vale versus Mantle and Mistral. And after that, they gave the Faunus a continent of their own where they can stay safe. Of course, there's still some Faunus discrimination happening around the world, but Menagerie, which is where Blake is from, is a place where they can all stay safe, away from harm. It's a safe haven for all Faunus. While Faunus are still promised the same rights as normal people, some don't always give them that, and they still face some form of discrimination every now and then. Of course, they haven't really shown a lot of that in Vale. In the beginning of Volume 4, when RWBY and Co were on the way to Mistral, they met a blacksmith who was also a Faunus with horns. But I think they may have still been in Vale at that time. So Vale and Vacchio are nice to Faunus, but maybe not so much at Mistral and Atlas. We haven't seen too much with there, so maybe we will at some point. And of course at Menagerie, Crow also said that sometimes if you band them together, if you put them all in one spot, and as they continue to be mistreated, they may band together, they may get organized, and they may strike back, aka as the White Fang. Of course, according to Blake, the White Fang started off as a peaceful group, but then after their new leader took over, they changed into the, for lack of a better term, terrorist group that it is today. So that's been nice about the Faunus. And as much as I hate to admit it, I can understand the story at the beginning about a man-like creature with horns and maybe fangs. That does sound a bit scary at first if I just did not even know such a thing even existed. And I guess I can understand why people would be scared at first. But I'm glad they came around, and while things aren't perfect, they're definitely better than what it was when it started out. Maybe one day they'll be able to get through all of this. Maybe the White Fang will finally understand and they'll be able to put this all behind them. I'm not that hopeful though, but oh well. So this was a nice episode. Next time I'll be watching Volume 4, Chapter 5. So see how that turns out. My reaction is now done.